Previously on Podcast Without Pretense.
You know, I love musicals, or at least I used to.
And that's how my shoe separated from itself. It's not a good thing. Water got in. I'm seriously pissed.
Listen, I'll watch anything with Tim Curry multiple times.
Oh, welcome back to Podcast Without Pretense. Apparently last episode we talked about very similar topics that we were talking about today, minus my shoes. Hi, I'm Isaac.
I'm Jonathan Strickland.
I'm Eric Zandine.
Awesome, awesome flag.
After more than 100 episodes, we've really nailed the intro.
I thought so. We nailed it like a blind carpenter.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
He was good at his job, I assume.
So, we do a lot of crazy shenanigans on this podcast, and by a lot I mean some.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those crazy shenanigans would be watching movies in a test to find out how well we can pay full attention to stuff that we might not normally pick, on our own, unless we're a masochist like Eric. And so we've been doing this for a while. We've been picking movies that we thought would be a test of our attention spans. And the real test that we take is to try and watch as much of that film as possible with no distractions, no alcohol, preferably no other person in the room, no second screen, and just see how far we can get. And if we want, after we give up, if we do give up, we can continue watching the film with as many distractions as we want. We just have to write down how far we got into the movie. And Eric picked the movie that we're going to discuss this week, Strange Frame, Love and Sax. Eric, do you want to take a stab at trying to explain what this movie's about?
The very quick summary is, in the future, we have to leave Earth. Everybody gets enslaved. Something music, something robot, love.
Lesbians.
There we go.
Yeah,
that's
pretty
much
about
the movie.
What I got.
There's a bit of some DNA modifications, so these people who have left Earth, they can survive harsher climates, harsher environments. A lot of modifications to humans. So you have like these cat-like people. You still have a very, music's very, very important in the future still, because I guess it's, of all the things that's necessary, music is very important. And our lead is somebody named Naya X, voiced by Tara Strong. And the other lead is Parker, who's I think she was in Farscape or something. I don't know who she
Claudia
is.
Is that what the voice was from? Okay.
Yeah.
And
there is a love
Claudia
story
Black.
between the two, and it goes on for a while. The lovers are separated. Tim Curry voices a bad guy, shock and surprise, whereby I believe he's drugging Naya X for a while, making sure that she can be some kind of, she's like drugged in a room while a fake one is being a singer. That's basically the movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unless there's more.
No,
you mix.
I mean,
there's a couple
some
Star Wars
subplots.
references in there.
Yeah. There's, which is weird to think that people 800 years into the future are still going to reference Star Wars.
Right, because it's not the movie referencing Star Wars. It's a reference that characters in the film understood.
Yeah. No, it's clear the character is
Yeah.
referencing Star Wars when he's making this.
Yep.
Yeah, the voice cast was actually pretty impressive, and it's kind of a who's who of science fiction. So you've got Claudia Black, who's done stuff with Stargate and Farscape. You've got Ron Glass, who was in Firefly. Tim Curry, who's been in tons of stuff, including the science fiction masterpiece Rocky Horror Picture Show. You've got Alan Tudyk, also of Firefly fame. There were a whole bunch of people in there that had been in lots of stuff like that. And then some folks who are mostly known for their voice acting work, like Tara Strong. And so it was a good voiceover cast. Honestly, I didn't hate this movie, but I didn't like it at all. I was mostly disappointed because it feels like it's a film that I could have liked if it had been better. but it wasn't. So I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it either. And mostly it's because I felt that they were trying to do too many things and they didn't do any of them well enough for me to care. Oh,
Yeah,
by the way,
I
I got
like.
20 minutes. I got 20 minutes in before I had distractions.
Oh, I was 18 minutes 30 seconds. So
So
that
you're
that
right
first
around
sex
the
scene is what
lesbian
caught
love
you
scene. Yeah.
too. Yep.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So I got 5:52 in where I got a text message. If you don't count that, which you could, I got
Yeah.
to 27:17 where I said, I give up, second screen, please. That's when I was like, fuck it. I'm going to look at anything else. I read it on for the rest of the movie, and I don't feel like I missed a beat. Liz asked me if I should help, if I could help her take out the dog so that I didn't like the movie. I should have done that instead while the movie ran, because this thing, Jonathan says he doesn't like the movie. He didn't. He thinks it could be better. I just found the voice cast to be so strong that this shouldn't have been a pile of shit. Apparently, this thing cost $1.2 million to make.
Wait, are you
Uh,
serious?
yeah,
What?
I looked at the IMDb. $1.2 million. There's 7 total animators, 5 2D and 2 3D, which explains the look of this movie, which is basically like sort of melty Trapper Keeper art.
Yeah.
Which kind of, it didn't take me out of it, but like it wasn't
Well, sadly, I
as
could have
go ahead.
been okay with the art had it actually just been just a tiny bit better. Like I got the animation style. I was okay with it. I've watched other films with the same animation style. But maybe it's the plot that just lost me on the animation style.
I
Like I don't
I
know.
found I found the animation off-putting at first, but the longer
Mhm.
the movie went, the more I liked it, except for all the super trippy scenes. Those got distracting to
Yeah.
me because it looked
Well,
like it
they
was
were all
trying
the
a little
same.
too hard.
Yeah, they were all the same. Like anytime
Yeah.
you got into the trippy space, every scene that way was animated exactly the same.
Well, I only wrote a few notes for this one. I know Ayaz has some, so I'm just going to go through mine super quick. Uh, so here's the first thing I wrote. So it reminds me of a combination of Heavy Metal, the movie Heavy Metal,
Good point.
and Repo, the Genetic Opera. Now, have either of you seen either of those movies?
I've seen Heavy Metal. I see what you're talking about with that kind of the space futuristic kind of
Yeah.
pushing the envelope kind of feel, but I don't know the other one.
I've
Okay.
seen Repo, but I haven't seen Heavy Metal. So
Well, see, look, there we go.
Perfect.
You two together have get both of those references. So Eric, Heavy Metal is an anthology film. It is based off the fanzine of the same name, and it is set as a science fiction film that's an animated film, very stylized, hypersexualized. A lot of it is actually really more male sexual fantasy than anything else. There's an entire sequence that to this day I am convinced served as the inspiration for the Fifth Element. There's one story in Heavy Metal that's essentially a truncated short version of the stuff you see in Fifth Element, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, for older
But-
folks, Heavy Metal is kind of like those, you know, those airbrush paintings you see on really sleazy vans? That's kind of what Heavy Metal's kind of the feel of it is.
Or a Molly Hatchet album cover. Take the super like muscular Conan like fantasy character, put them into a quasi science fiction storyline, and that's pretty much Heavy Metal. Then Repo the Genetic Opera is an opera. It's a rock opera set in a dystopian future in which a character known as the Repo Man goes in and repossesses people's organs that they have had implanted, but they've not kept up with the payments. So it's a dark comedic science fiction musical. And all of these, the elements that I think they share with Strange Frame are that they are very highly stylized, but that style is masking very little actual substance, which is the problem. And that's why I don't ultimately care about anything that happens in this movie. I don't connect with any of the characters. So it also reminds me of Ralph Bakshi films. You guys know Ralph Bakshi?
No.
Not at all.
Wow. Okay. Jesus. All right. Here's some education for you guys. Ralph Bakshi, he's really famous for rotoscope animation, but he did the Lord of the Rings adaptation that was just fellowship through the first half of Two Towers, really, in one big long movie. He also did a movie called Wizards, as well as some other films. He did Cool World, actually. You might be most familiar with that one. But anyway, also really known for stylized films with very little substance. I said there are a lot of hints of ideas in this movie, but none of it gets really fleshed out. I said you've got the indentured servitude story, which plays an important part in the very beginning of the film, but then it fades away. It's no longer an element once one of our two main characters gets released.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah. Like, we never get to actually explore this universe that they're creating in the beginning. Like, they create this universe and then they're like, all right, well, so this is where we are, but here's this one tiny story.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that there are a lot of hints that this universe is actually pretty interesting, but because we don't really explore any of those elements deeply, they don't matter to us. And I kind of respect that they're trying to hint at this super rich world, but because we're not getting any one individual element at a level that is good enough for us to become emotionally invested, we ultimately still don't care. I said that you've also got Bitsy's story. That's the ship's computer. It's an artificial intelligence construct that another character in the movie discovers and then installs in his ship that he's building so that he has an AI to help run the ship. And it's clear that she has a full backstory. And it sounds like it might be interesting, but we never really explore it. And so we don't really get the motivations of that character. And she does stuff toward the end of the film that has the potential to completely sabotage the protagonist's plan. And we don't learn enough for that to matter. We also we've got two characters who are part of a band that our two protagonists are part of. So our protagonists, Parker and what's the other one? Navi?
Naya.
Naya. Yeah, Navi would be from Avatar. So Naya and Parker are both musicians, and they form a band. And the band is rounded out by these two guys who we never have met before. They just are magically in the band at some point in the story. One of them gets killed, and another one gets essentially framed and pushed into a drug lifestyle. And I guess we're supposed to care, but because we've spent next to no time with these characters, I didn't care. I was like, well, I don't know them, so I can't be sad about what's happened to them. And I say that's the biggest problem I have with this film. It feels like it wants you to have an emotional connection to the story, but there's not enough to get attached to. And that I admire the style to a point, and I think the world they designed is interesting, but there's not enough to make it feel like a good tale. And if you asked me to tell you in simple terms what the story was, it'd be kind of hard. I guess it comes down to lovers being split apart when one of them is being exploited and the other is being purposefully shut out, which is pretty much the plot for a billion other stories.
I think they were trying to make you connect a lot with all of the internal monologues of what was her name?
Parker.
Of Parker. But what she's saying is so it's as if she's writing or she's reading like love the journal for a 12-year-old, from a 12-year-old, who is just found out you can love somebody. Like that's what most of her monologues sound like. They're just crappy diary entries.
Yeah, there are a lot of lines in this movie that feel like they're supposed to be significant, but ultimately feel really empty. So, yeah, I totally agree with you on this one. It is, it feels like, it's one step up from writing fortune cookie fortunes. And
right.
I mean, it really is. Like, some of the song lyrics are like that too, but specifically some of the lines people may give. I meant to write one of them down because there was one that, as I was watching it, I thought, oh, the movie wants you to think that this is deep, but honestly, it doesn't mean anything. It just was kind of an empty statement. Like it felt like someone who is really awful at poetry had written that line.
Is it the
And,
Space Between song? It's probably
Oh
that one.
yeah. It was
Yeah,
probably
one
Making your
I was
life
thinking
more
of
space
there.
between. Or,
I think it was actually a part of dialogue that I was thinking of, and I think it was one that Naya was saying, but I honestly don't know. Yeah, so the it is sad because I mean, like I said, I like a lot of the actors who are in this. I love Tim Curry, and he was essentially playing a music agent who sees Naya and decides that Naya needs to be the next big hit. And the way his company works is they pump up music stars and then apparently orchestrate their deaths so that their music is in huge demand out of nostalgia. And then they go and find another one. Seems like it's a hard model to support over the long term.
Well, especially now because we make money. Most artists now make money with live performances. So 800
Yeah,
years from
dead performances
Yeah.
suck.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, so this one, Ayaz, did you have other notes you wanted to share?
sure, why not? There are some lines of this movie that eventually I started keeping track of possible titles for today's episode based on how ridiculous they were.
Oh, I was
So-
hoping you were gonna do the possible porn lines again.
I didn't have that because this was very obvious that there was a lot of porn lines in this, and
Yeah.
like if you wanted to see some poorly animated softcore pornography, you could watch this movie. I mean, there's not a
Yeah,
lot of
fair
it,
enough.
but there's some of it. But there's better ways to find porn. So let's go with my notes. The first one was, how fortunate are those who can frame the beauty of the strange. That was the opening scene. I'm like, there's your title right there. And we have, I think, I have like 5 contenders here. 20 seconds in, and I realized I could be watching The Walking Dead. I'm not caught up on The Walking Dead, so I've already at that point, like my mind has wandered. Naya equals tweet lung girl. Parker equals lover of Naya. I like the way she says military. Nothing is as dangerous as love. Title contender number 2. The movie appears to be a CG cutscene from a Sega CD game. The style of the movie is very close shots and motion comic style. So there's a lot of keyframe animation, a lot of warping tools being used to give us this sense of animation. As I later find out, there's 7 animators. Also tall and yummy. Title number 3. Every shattered piece of glass reflects a piece of ass. Title number 4.
Yeah, that
552.
line that got me.
Oh yeah, so in the beginning of this movie, Naya saves Parker's life, and then I guess Naya pretends to be shot, and so Parker saves her life, and it was just a test. So then that's how they get together. And then it leads to my next note: sex in the alley after meeting about 5 minutes ago. Okay, some of the dialogue is Sin City-esque because a lot of it has this really kind of cornball feel to it. So I'm like, okay, I've watched Sin City; it's got a lot of this. Grenman looks like Morgan Freeman. Risa, who's voiced by Cree Summer, is a virtual sex goddess. And then when she talks to some like big rock or something, the caption actually says "sexy voice," which I thought was kind of funny.
Oh,
Oh, I
yeah,
forgot
the
you
Big
watched
Rock
this with
was-
captions on. I have to
Yeah.
start doing that. It sounds like
Big,
I'm
the
missing
Big Rock
something.
was voiced by Michael Dorn.
Okay, that's
Worf, in other words.
and he's kind of like he's almost kind of comically Jerry Lewis, like nah, kind of to the reaction to the sexy voiced Cree Summer,
Yeah.
who turns out to be some kind of bat woman, not like Batwoman like the comic book character, like a female bat that's huge, gigantic. Oh yeah, Morgan Freeman is legless. He's not Morgan Freeman, but he looks just like him. Okay, then my next note is, what the shit, Eric? Naya is cutting mushrooms, writing songs. Dandelion, the fucking scourge of my lawns, because they're like Parker gives a gift to Naya. It's a dandelion in a jar because it's so precious. And I guess in the future they forget that these fucking weeds apparently hard to find. I guess if there's no soil, maybe this is a thing. Okay, Naya cutting mushrooms in a band with Parker because that's a great idea. You know, being a partner with your bandmate. I'm going to assume resources were scarce in the animation. I was right. Body Chord Soul Notes. Title number 6. Okay, here's my next note. Tien Guy equals gift, says caption. So some of the lines that were said in the movie, they translated in the captions. I was like, that's kind of neat. Thanks for that. Tim Curry equals glasses guy. New to the lone. Okay, let's see. New to the Lone Mango. Because we actually, now to the Lone Mango. Lone Mango is the ship name for the Batgirl and Morgan Freeman. Holy shit, I kind of hate this movie. AI woman equals Val slash Bitsy, which I actually quite liked the Bitsy story. So much zooming, lots of zooming. So basically, lots of shots are like this, right? So it was driving me a little nuts.
Yeah.
This might be the animation equivalent of Comic Sans. 2717, I give up. Second screen, please. And then I have points for me. I identified Dawn Lewis in the movie. She played Jaleesa in Different World. 7 animators, 5 2D, 7 3D. And as a side thing I was keeping, just to keep myself interested, future words. Forking is some kind of swear word, kind of like our word for fucking.
Well,
Space
it's like
Me.
They just made one up.
They had Space
Yeah.
Me, which was this basically was the same kind of like, fuck me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plosive, which I know is a regular word, but I don't think I've ever heard it used in this kind of way. Nims.
Yeah.
Flume as a derogatory word. Frecking zoot head is actually a line mentioned by Parker when she's being accosted by some singing cat women. And lacuna, which means go fuck yourself, which I think is a fine word. I think we should be using it all the time on this show. Lacuna is, I think, my favorite one in this entire one. And those are my notes. I don't have a line for porn. Maybe next time I'll keep track of potential porn lines, but not today.
And lacuna was one of those ones that I actually remember what happened in the movie that brought it up because I was like, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, that was one of those stories where you felt that if there had been more about that, it would have been really interesting. It was all a story about a group of people. And like we were saying earlier, these are humans who have been genetically altered or surgically altered in some way. And so these were people who had multiple mouths. They had like a mouth on, on their face like regular people, and then had 2 mouths on their necks. So, but they were known as having a sing-song kind of language, which is kind of a cool idea. And I thought, well, this is interesting. I don't understand why they would need multiple mouths. That doesn't seem to. I can't imagine what the purpose of that was, but it's a cool idea. And although they did refer to them as natives, so maybe they were supposed to be aliens. I mean, there was never any mention of aliens in the movie, but they were essentially an indigenous people that ultimately gets wiped out. And there's a character who is giving these marketing guys are turning to her to ask what the name of the place is because they want to name a community after the indigenous name of the place. And she comes up with this very long descriptive phrase for the place. Like that's the way her people would name things. They gave long descriptions. And they asked her if she could shorten that. She said lacuna. And then it turns out the lacuna means go fuck yourself. But they, of course, interpret lacuna as being the short version, and that's what they named the community. So it's very similar to a lot of apocryphal stories, like the word kangaroo means I don't know. That's one of the apocryphal stories where, an explorer points to a kangaroo and says, "What's that?" And the interpreter is unfamiliar with the animal and says kangaroo, meaning I don't know what that is. But they assume, oh, that thing is a kangaroo. Therefore, that's what it's going to be called from now on. Now, that story's not true, but it is one of those that you hear over and over again. I think there's another one where like Nome, Alaska was supposed to mean something in the Inuit language and turned out to mean something else. Same sort of legend that usually ends up to be false, but that's what this particular story reminded me of.
I mean, there were lots of cool things to explore in this universe, but we didn't get to see any of them and instead got this really crappy story.
Yeah, and part of the problem is, I mean, I have no objection to any of the elements that were in the movie. It's just they were all, so superficially handled that it didn't mean much. For instance, the way our 2 characters meet, they meet in the first 5 minutes of the film, and they're just instantly attracted to one another, and it immediately becomes not just instant attraction, but engaging in sex, like immediately. And you think, shouldn't there be maybe some lead up to this where characters get to know people, they learn about each other, and it's not just an attraction thing. It's also particularly weird since one of the 2 characters had literally been in captivity and then
Right.
set free, and then immediately upon running into the first other woman that she sees, decides to have sex with her. It's sloppy. It's a sloppy storytelling element that really could have been easily addressed. And like I
Well,
said, go ahead, Eric.
and we just have to assume that they are now like in love and ready to go. Like that's how
Yeah,
the film works. Like we just like that initial scene in the first like minute or 2 minutes. We just have to be like, okay, well then, yeah, they're made for each other and they're gonna die together. So, all right.
yeah, it's a little ridiculous too because not only do we have this incredibly rapid escalation of meat to sex, which is way too fast,
And
but
title
then
there.
you meat to sex, MEET, not MEAT.
MEAT
Um,
is better, but
Nah,
okay.
MEAT is better.
Yeah.
well, it would be, but it has nothing to do with the movie.
I don't think
Um,
that would actually stop
I don't think it
anybody in the film to
matters.
put it. Overruled. Meat
all
to
right,
sex, it is.
I'm not. I don't feel strongly enough to protest, but no, what I was going to say was that we also have to be told in these voiceovers about how close the two got to one another and how much they love each other, which is a huge problem in any kind of storytelling. You want to show, you don't want to tell. And instead of seeing the relationship develop over time, we're just told that it happens, and then we flash forward to when they've been singing and playing together for a while. And they're not together for very long before they get split apart. And so you're like, well, I don't know anyone in this story, so why should I care that they're no longer together?
Right.
Like I said, it's just there's not enough time taken to make it. It feels like there were at least 2 or 3 movies worth of ideas here, and none of them were fleshed out.
Yeah, I would not be. I don't think I would want to watch this movie again. I got really bored with the plots. I don't know why. I certainly like there was a couple characters like 4 eyebrows. I don't know what benefit there is to 4 eyebrows. There's some people with 4 arms. I get that. There's a lot of modifications. It just seems like all right. Somebody was just lazy on the design. Not, I mean, I'm not saying that animating a movie is simple or easy. And the fact that 7 animators were the entirety of the staff, good on them. But
Is relatively impressive. Like,
yeah, for 7 people, but it just, I mean, you guys are totally right about the plot. It's really shallow because it's just, okay, follow these 2 people in this crazy world you're in. And we've seen lots of movies that have been good like that, where you're like, okay, we're going to take 2 people and we're going to be in this fantastical world and
Yep.
you're going to care about them. And the way they do set this up, it is literally within the first 5 minutes that they're like, hey, good to meet you. Good to meet you. Hey, let's have sex in the alley. And then like they also cut to like another scene where somebody else is having sex in the alley. So I just assumed in the future this is normal because they were like, hey, look, here's another group doing it. Although there was nothing said about them and how long they've known each other, or if it was even the same alley. Because there was a lot of, I guess, the framing of shots, not exactly something that gave you a lot of, not perspective, but you didn't really have a lot of placement when it came to the geography of this place. Obviously, everything's in space, so it's all willy-nilly with that. There is a point where the AI system tries to kill the Bat girl, Reese or Risa, whatever her name is, and the guy looks like Morgan Freeman. She's like, I'm just going to shut down everything. There you go. What happens after that? Because I tuned out
Right.
mentally.
No,
Do they
there was
die?
No, I don't remember either. Jonathan, did anything actually happen?
Please restate the question because I was looking at what I'm going to choose for next week's movie.
Sure thing.
There's-
When the
yeah.
AI Bitsy starts taking over the ship and then
Yeah.
she starts a purge of the atmosphere
Yeah.
within there, I think it is, or whatever. My language might be wrong there. But she starts basically trying to kill the inhabitants of the ship. Is there any resolution to that scene? Because I don't
Yes.
remember it.
Yes. Risa, the Bat Lady, goes and tries to pull a lever to open up the emergency hatch to the rest of the ship. Because what has happened is the AI has closed off the portion that Risa is in. She's the only one aboard the ship at this time. Everyone else is occupied trying to rescue Naya. Actually, I think at that point they're trying to kidnap the robot version of Naya. And so she struggles with the lever, which breaks off in her hand. the hatch to the rest of the ship opens so she can continue to breathe. She makes her way to the area where the AI is actually housed, and then hits it with the lever, destroying it. So you assume, I guess the assumption is that she destroys Bitsy, the AI, in a bid to stay alive. This was, again, like the story with Bitsy was one where I felt like we needed to know way more about this character.
Yeah.
We know that she is an artificially intelligent construct. We know that she's the last known one of her kind, that this particular construct became self-aware at some point, and it was presumably, because this is never stated, overtly, presumably when they became self-aware, that's when they were targeted for destruction, because they were now no longer useful. They were now dangerous. And so she resents the fact that this has happened, and she wants to have a body of her own again. She doesn't want to be confined in the ship. And it actually is revealed that she is going to essentially betray the crew in return for a robot body. But all of this is just like this is an interesting plot, but we only get bits and pieces of it, and then she gets destroyed by this other member of the crew, the phone sex operator, Bat Girl.
Right. Well, yeah, somebody mentioned in the chat room that and it's a musical. Yeah, since there's a band in this, there's a lot of singing, lots of songs. It's not like the characters start breaking out into song randomly. It's not like Don't Go in the Woods, where it makes no fucking sense. A lot of the songs seem to be relegated to the performances. So they're singing in it. Right. The songs aren't particularly great. Like you guys were mentioning, it has this, like, we're really trying to be deep. Do you get it? But they're not any better than any like standard pop song. I think High School Musical had catchier stuff. That's right, I said it. High School Musical.
No, I agree.
I don't think
much more palatable than this thing.
I feel the songs of this one, they were pretty much what you would hear going into like a pop folk rock kind of show, especially one like, imagine going to a hip coffee shop and it's a couple of people singing at the coffee shop. That's the kind of music you get.
Yeah, you got to make it in the space between, Jonathan. You got to make it in the space between.
Yeah. It's not terrible, but it is what it is.
You're not going to listen to it again. It's background music. Like
yeah. None of the songs made an impression on me. So, but that also could just be that it's not my kind of music. It wasn't like, I didn't feel that the songs were badly made. They just didn't appeal to me.
Right. Well, I mean, it didn't sound like Slayer, so I understand.
Okay. To be fair, if you want to have a band that actually does apply to the kind of stuff I listen to, Reverend Horton Heat would be a pretty good choice.
Fair enough.
Okay.
I was saying a joke. I wasn't trying to imply to people that you listen to Slayer constantly.
No. Not constant.
How did constantly get in there? It wasn't even implied at all. It was like,
it's what I'm listening to right now.
That's what those headphones are. That's why he had no idea what the hell I was asking him.
Yeah, when you were asking a question, I was really concentrating on Slayer. All right, well, Ayaz's ban has one more pick to go because we banned him for 2 rounds for Don't Go Into the Woods.
Ayaz suggested that I should be banned for this.
For a while.
However, I disagree.
We've been through 2 rounds, haven't we? Or is it your turn again, Jonathan?
Well, this would be my turn because... Well, hang on. I'll open up my spreadsheet. So according to my spreadsheet, we have Don't Go in the Woods, which was your pick. Then we decided to ban you for 2 rounds.
Which I volunteered
for. Eric picked Daddy Can't Dance. And the fact that we didn't ban him for that.
All right. I'll take a 2-episode ban and I'll let you guys have it.
But then
Daddy Can't Dance also had
was
a similar,
way worse than this movie.
There's an element. Wait, actually, I think I'd probably watch Daddy Can't Dance again because it also has the same thing of like, here are 2 really important people. We'll just introduce them, and they're really integral to the plot. And you never met them before. Same kind of thing.
You're talking about You mean members 4 and 5 of the dance team who
Of
show
the
up
dance
at
team.
the dance
It's like,
competition?
it's okay. They're cool. I know them. It's like, wait a second. You've been working for like so long to put your moves together, and then you're just going to introduce these guys at the contest, kind of like the two band members in this movie. So Eric seems to be finding he has this weird ability to find movies where there are just like two characters who just kind of show up and they're super important, or they're supposed to be, but you never freaking know anything about them.
Yeah, they're super important because the movie tells us so. The movie doesn't prove it.
That's absolutely true.
All right. Well, then after Daddy Can't Dance, I picked High School Musical.
Right. Okay.
Which actually wasn't bad. Like,
it was
wasn't
the least
good.
worst movie of the group here.
Yeah.
And then Eric picked Strange Frames. So we're back to my pick. After my pick, if we're banning Eric for a couple of turns, then it's gonna be it'll be your turn the week after next.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Which we're getting to a point where we're getting close to the holidays too, so we'll find out how this recording schedule goes.
We're just gonna do like 6 episodes in a row. Quick.
Well, would you get? Yeah, that'll be great. We'll just sit down and be like, okay, so for the last 14 hours, I've been watching movies and I fucking hate everybody. Let's talk about this shit. Go. Okay, so you want to hear my pick for next week?
Yeah. I'm waiting to search for it.
This is and maybe you've already seen the movie, and if you have, I'll pick one because this is one I know I've seen an excerpt of this film on YouTube.
Okay.
I want to pick Singham, Singham, all one word.
It's
A police
Bollywood
inspector
movie?
kills himself after a powerful gangster frames him for corruption, but soon the thug faces the full force of cop Bajirao Singham.
Is this true? This is a Bollywood movie?
Yes, it is.
Oh, you're such an
This
asshole.
will be our first Bollywood movie.
Well, not on this show. My mom used to watch this crap all the time, and I hated this shit.
I meant on this show. Yes.
I understand that. I'm just letting you know.
I have
this won't be my
also
first
watched Bollywood movies before this point.
Oh man.
But I'm picking this one because I've seen a specific fight scene in this movie on YouTube before, and I want to watch the whole thing.
Is there singing in this movie?
Of course there is.
Please,
It's listed
yes.
under musicals.
I did not look at that part of it yet.
It's 2 hours and 21 minutes long.
That's how long Bollywood films are.
Okay,
Actually,
so-
this is kind of short for a Bollywood movie.
I'm really glad you mentioned the time of it because I watched the movie before we do the show, like almost immediately before. So now I know what time I have to start. And
You
I'm gonna
gotta
have
leave
rage.
the office and put this on.
All right, but
yeah, I'm gonna have to like set a weekend for this shit. Okay.
yeah, but let me
You
ask
got
you
it.
this: what does your prediction say on Netflix? What does it think that you're going to rate it?
For my profile, which is a podcast without pretense profile, so I rate movies I really dislike very highly. For PWP, it says 4.5 stars. For the average, it says 3.7.
Yeah,
Eric?
I wonder what it would say for Ayaz. But Eric, you go ahead.
I have 4.6 stars.
Okay, prepare yourselves. 4.9 stars.
Holy crap.
Yeah, I am apparently going to love this movie, and I am looking forward to it. I picked one that I think we are actually going to genuinely enjoy,
Wait.
probably apart from the extremely long and seemingly random, at least to us, music breaks.
For my actual profile, the IAS profile, 4.9 as well.
See?
Crazy.
Now this is a gift to you guys.
That we can watch in 6 parts.
Yeah.
Look,
I'm sorry that the awesome movie I picked is going to be awesome for longer than the shitty movies we picked.
if this is not as good as Miami Connection, I will have a protest of some kind.
Ayaz, that's not fair. Nothing in this world is as good as Miami Connection.
That movie was so awesome that it's no longer available on Netflix. Like it was so bright. It just burned out.
Well,
So
it was
glad we picked that.
mainly our review. Like we reviewed it so well, they're like, "Hey, we're getting DVD sales out of this stuff." So they
That
had
was
to
a
pull it
fucking-
down.
That was an awesome movie.
That really was an awesome movie. I'm not talking shit about that. I found that to be, especially after I read the IMDb trivia on it, like they weren't licensed for this shit. But to the point where the police officers were fans of the star, they're like, yeah, okay, fine, you can shoot her.
I found my dad. I found my dad.
Okay, we gotta find
is
this
this
movie
your
again.
brother? That's my dad. Oh God, what a great movie. All right. Well, I'm glad that we've got that one picked. I need to write that one down so I don't forget it.
God. Let me look at some of the reviews here. Let's see.
They're all 5 stars. They're like every one of them.
Everyone loves it. I'm sure this is the most critical. I love this movie. The storyline is great. The action is great. It's all great. It may be a bit over the top, but that just makes it even better. So
I think we're going to really enjoy this. I really do. I picked it so that we would have a little bit of a reprieve. Now, granted, we're going to have to read some subtitles.
Jonathan, hold on.
Yeah.
So I have another note. Availability November 14th, 2014.
Oh shit!
So we're
gonna
gonna
watch it like now.
We have to watch it
we have
before
to
the
watch
end of
it
the
like
week.
now. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I now know what I'm doing. I still have to watch I think Too Many Cooks. That's a big deal right now.
You haven't
watched
Too Many Cooks? It's only 10 minutes.
I haven't gotten to it yet.
11 minutes.
And it's also not going to be taken off the internet, so I have to watch
Whatever.
it.
You'll have to watch it like 4 or 5 times anyway. So
yeah, so
I know 5 of the people in Too Many Cooks.
You know what was funny? When I watched it and I realized the production team was in Atlanta and that's where they did it, I was like, oh my God, I bet Jonathan knows like half these people.
Actually, I think I know 6 of them. So there's Karen Cassidy, Mary Kraft, Mark Foley, Dan Trefaulo, and a couple of others. Tara Oaks, and I don't remember. There's Ricky, whose last name escapes me right now, who's actually one of the cooks. Yeah, I know like 6 people who are in that. I might know more of them, but 6 of them specifically.
Is Adult Swim headquartered out there? Are they in Atlanta? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's what I thought.
Cartoon Network is located off William Street in Atlanta, which is in Midtown, south side of Midtown.
Right.
So, CNN and Adult Swim and Cartoon Network are all in. Well, CNN's a little closer to downtown, but the Adult Swim and Cartoon Network are not too far away.
Yeah.
All right. I've already been adding a bunch of bad movies for myself for my next pick. And I will not do what Jonathan does. I'm actually going to ask your opinion, guys, because I don't trust me after Don't Go in the Woods. I should have gone with Antisocial. I don't trust my movie making, not movie making, but movie picking abilities. I trust my movie making abilities more than my movie picking at this point, actually. So, like, just as a warning, potentially inappropriate comedy might be one of them. All the Boys Love Mandy Lane might be one of them. Monkey Shines might be one of them, which I've never seen.
Oh, I've seen Monkey Shines.
It's 113 minutes, so that could be fun. Big Ass Spider, which I started watching 5 minutes ago.
I almost watched Big Ass Spider the other day.
And Heavy Metal. There was like Heavy Metal, some kind of like Turbulence 3, Heavy Metal, which I watched the trailer for. The trailer was so bad, I chose not to inflict it on this show. But it's available.
Wait. Inappropriate has Rob Schneider, Michelle Rodriguez.
It looks like a piece of shit, like movie
Adrian
43.
Brody. Oh, this is gonna be bad.
I love that they have Turbulence and Turbulence 3, but no Turbulence 2.
Yeah, Turbulence 3, man. The trailer I think was like 11 minutes or something crazy. Which is not.
It says a rock star's plan to stage a concert aboard a 747 goes horribly awry when a psychotic passenger hijacks the plane and embarks on a killing spree.
Doesn't that sound like a good plot?
That sounds fantastic.
Right, but like I watched part of it in the trailer and just like, no, this is not working. This is
with
not,
Joe
the trailer's not
Montana.
working. Well, now you guys are talking it up to the point where
all right, well, see, I've already seen Monkey Shine, so that's
okay.
That's disqualified because I've seen it.
Disqualified.
Although technically, I also had seen the very first movie we ever watched for this and didn't realize it until we got all the way through.
Was that Troll 2?
But Troll 2. Yeah,
Yeah.
Troll 2 was one
Yeah.
where as I started watching, I was like, oh yeah, I've seen this part. But I think it was right after this I turned it off. And we go a little further, like, no, I've seen this part too. No, I definitely remember the girl, the sister dancing in front of the mirror, like all this kind of stuff. No, I remember the super crazy um, teacher lady. And as it kept on going, I was like, nope, I've seen this whole goddamn movie.
It's like I might have to invest in something like Play Later just so I can record the Singham movie and just have it for later. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to watch this in the next week.
Now, I will say this. That if you want to see a genuinely good movie, and I'm not being silly here. Over the weekend, I saw Big Hero 6, the animated film from Disney.
Yeah, I saw you post about that.
Genuinely phenomenal.
Huh.
One of the
I've
best
yet to see.
one of the best superhero team movies I've ever seen. Like it's way up there with like The Incredibles. It's really good.
Well, this I'll have to see. I mean, it just came out, this weekend? So
Yeah.
the trailers looked really funny, and I don't think they gave anything away in the trailers. So
No, it's funny, it's endearing. The one thing that's weird is that the trailers don't, at least the ones I saw, don't give any hint as to why it's called Big Hero 6.
true.
And it's not until you're actually watching the movie you're like, oh, it's a superhero team movie, not just a super robot type thing. And I wasn't familiar with the comic, so I didn't know the history behind the team at all. I just went into the movie thinking it was going to be about a cute inflatable robot thing. And I mean, that's a huge part of the movie, but it is just really well done. Not only is it really well done, but at least for the first part of the film, it's very much rooted in science and technology in a cool way. Like the vision of their future, like it all takes place in a city called San Francisco. So it's San Francisco and Tokyo kind of mishmashed together. Their vision of that city is gorgeous. Like the world they have built is so detailed and so vibrant and colorful and beautiful and futuristic that I was amazed. I mean, that alone is worth going to go see the movie. And that doesn't even touch the fact that you have characters that you actually care about, a plot that actually makes sense. The villain design is amazing. It's a great movie.
It's like this just reminds me of when I used to go to comic stores and buy bad comic books just to see what they looked like, so I could go, don't do that, because Big Hero 6 is the opposite of Strange Frame. Like, okay, futuristic world, we got no character development, we don't really care, but it sounds like this will be fun to watch Big Hero 6 at some point. Well, I got to watch that.
No, it's good. It's worth your time, and it's worth seeing on the big screen because, like I said, the character and world design is fantastic. I have a feeling that if I decide to dress up in a costume for next year's Dragon Con, I'm gonna do Kabuki Man, the bad guy from Big Hero 6. It's a pretty simple costume, but it's really effective.
I have no idea what that looks like. I'm not gonna even look it up. Other than
it's a guy in black,
have some idea.
black wearing a long black coat with a high collar and a kabuki mask. Just very sinister looking. Yeah, no, it's a great villain design, right?
It's a very clean design, but it also has a great, like, I would assume the mask doesn't move, so it's got eeriness to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless it does move. Unless it's terrible like the Green Goblin design in Spider-Man.
No, it doesn't move. It's a static mask.
All right, my dogs are telling me we should be looking into the future, gentlemen.
All right.
If you don't mind. Okay, next week on Podcast Without Pretense.
All Bollywood all the time.
I've totally changed my tune. I'm going to start singing every freaking movie review ever.
Yeah, I mean, like, Rosetta Stone was on sale, so I got the Hindi one.